The Toronto Blue Jays made a sneaky trade, and considering their track record of transforming pitchers that have struggled in the past, this is definitely something that could pay dividends. So we'll break that down on this episode of Jays Digest, as well as Matt Chapman. He got a qualifying offer extended to him by the Blue Jays, so we'll have that and much more coming up next. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. Now, before we get into this trade, into this qualifying offer extended to Matt Chapman, we want to let you know that this video is sponsored by Rentals.ca. And if you didn't know, Rentals.ca is Canada's largest apartment hunting network. We've both used them, Nick. They're amazing. The website is super clean and easy to use. Now, we know it's time for the Blue Jays to make a move. We've been clamoring for it, and they're starting. The offseason is in full swing, not just for the Jays, but for every team. And if your offseason is in full swing, if it's time to make a move in your personal life, use Rentals.ca. They're available coast to coast. They're super easy to use. And look, it might be time. It might be that time for you to get up and move and make a move, and Rentals.ca makes that transition a lot more seamless.
Yeah, the Jays are making tons of moves, and maybe if it's time to, make a move in your life, and like you saw there, the best part is you can pinpoint the exact location on the map where you can find your apartment. So check them out in the link in the pinned comment and the description as well. We've both used them, and thank you again for sponsoring this video. And Peter, like Rentals.ca, if it's time to move in your life, the Jays are making moves with, obviously, their team as they make an interesting trade today. And this one is interesting, and I think it could pay some dividends going forward. And it's one of those trades that you didn't really give up anything, but you got a guy back that could be very, very interesting in Brendan Little. And there's a couple other moves here which we'll discuss later, but we're going to focus on Brendan Little for a second here. We've acquired Brendan Little from the Cubs in exchange for cash considerations, and he's been selected to the 40-man roster. Peter, I don't know how familiar you were with Brendan Little, but we do have a bit of a rundown from a guy, Jays prospect. He's a 27-year-old lefty reliever with a 4 ERA across 73 innings. He has solid whiff rate and a 100th percentile average launch angle, which means he does not get hard at all. He has about a 94-mile-per-hour sinker, which I'll discuss in a little bit. Peter, this is a guy that does not have very much major league experience. He pitched a few games for the Cubs, I believe, in 2022, but he's an interesting guy, and some comparisons with Tim Mayza, which I'll get into later. But Peter, what are your thoughts on this trade? I think it's a pretty good one with no real harm to start the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like cash considerations is a real person. So you're giving this guy a shot here. And those peripherals do look pretty good. The whiff rate. He does walk a lot of guys. So there are comparisons to Tim Mayza. I saw those as well. But he doesn't have the same command that Tim Mayza does. Same profile, same 94, 95 mile an hour sinker. Same shape, same shape on the slider as well. So yeah, he could be like a Tim Mayza type, and he's only 27 years old, so definitely someone that you could work with. I mean, look what P. Walker did with Robbie Ray. He transformed into a guy that was nearly out of the league because he was struggling in Arizona, and then he turned him into a Cy Young contender, Cy Young winner, actually. So you just got to give these guys a chance, and I think that's what they're doing with Brandon Little here. He's intriguing. 94, 95 from the left-hand side. Doesn't come around too often, especially not with that kind of movement. So it'll be interesting to see how he develops. It's cool that they already selected him to the 40-man roster. It means he's probably going to make the big league team out of spring training or have a good chance to do that, and they're going to monitor how he develops. And if not, then that's when you cut ties, and you haven't really lost anything besides maybe $500K that you traded to the Cubs.
Yeah, and it's very, very rare. I'm not going to say rare. It's not usually, it doesn't happen often that you make a trade for a guy for nothing and he actually has a profile that's not too common, being obviously a lefty reliever who throws, gas. And you can pause and read this if you're unfamiliar with him, because I wasn't really familiar with him. Like Peter said, he has a sinker. Tim Mayza light, but like you said, Peter, exactly. Mayza has better command and control, but the slider are kind of similar. So the framework is there for Brendan Little to become a potential weapon down the line. And we've seen the way that the Blue Jays have developed some relievers or fixed relievers. Robbie Ray and other guys, Genesis Cabrera, who struggled greatly with his command with the Cardinals. We got him, and then he turned into an absolute stud for us and a guy we're going to be using next season. So he's a guy that we don't give up anything for. He's a lefty, and he has all the stuff in the world to be a very, very good lefty reliever, and he throws a lot of innings in AAA. Hopefully he can get his command better, and I think if he can get his command better, he has the stuff to at least make some sort of impact in the big league team. But again, I think this is a guy that, who knows whether it's the start of next season or even if it's just the guy who if Genesis Cabrera gets injured or falls off a little bit or someone gets injured, he might be one of the first ones up in that bullpen spot because we were really lacking lefties before the acquisition of Genesis Cabrera, and now we seem to be in a much better spot regarding that.
Yeah, and another thing, Mitch White
Yep.
has been put back on the 40-man roster, so he's going to get a fair shake in spring training as well. There's going to be a lot of internal battles because there's going to be some openings in the bullpen with Jordan Hicks most likely leaving. Uh, Nate Pearson might be in the mix as well for one of those spots, depending on how he develops. Ricky Tiedemann has been pitching really well in the Arizona Fall League, so he's going to have a chance to maybe crack the bullpen if the Jays don't want to stretch him out as a starter right away. So there's going to be a lot of internal battles there, and a lot of guys that are fighting for those final roster spots. And those are going to be the big storylines in spring. But another big storyline is going to be Matt Chapman, and if he's not back, there's going to be a big vacancy to fill, Nick.
Yeah, and let's get right into it. Chapman gets the qualifying offer, and we predicted this a couple videos ago, and he was the lone Blue Jay to get a qualifying offer. Mayerfield didn't get one, Belt didn't get one, Ryu didn't get one. However, Matt Chapman did, and it makes sense. He was at, I believe it was at about 20 million or so. Yeah, 20.325 million. The Blue Jays have officially extended a qualifying offer, and he is obviously expected to decline and enter free agency. And when he signs elsewhere, if the Blue Jays will receive a fourth round pick as compensation. So this is kind of a win-win. The worst case scenario is you get him at 20.35 million, which is pretty, that's around his value, especially given what he could produce on a 1-year scale. And when he leaves, most likely, as every single insider predicts, Peter will get a fourth round pick, which is very, very good for Matt Chapman because, at this point, he had his time with the Blue Jays. His time is up with the Blue Jays, most likely. The Jays want to transition into a younger third baseman, I would presume, or at least a different option at third base. They don't want to shell out all their money on an infielder. They need to obviously fill the outfield hole, and we get at least a fourth round pick if he doesn't re-sign or when he doesn't re-sign. So I consider it a win-win. I expected this qualifying offer. It's not like it was super expensive. And he's still a very, very phenomenal player. Just won a gold glove. But, I'm happy with this. And most likely we'll get a fourth round pick and be able to build around someone else at third base.
Yeah, just to put it into perspective, Ricky Tiedemann was a late third round pick.
Yeah.
So it gives you hope. And maybe you could go out there and get someone of importance in the fourth round. So, look, it is what it is. He's probably going to end up leaving. But he had a good tenure here. Pretty frustrating with the bat at times, but his deal was in. Now, I know a lot of Jays fans wait for even don't don't let the door hit you on the way out, but if it wasn't for his defense, I don't know where the Jays would have been in the past 2 years because he helped out Bo Bichette immensely on the left side, especially without the shift. And you really saw his defense shine this year, and that's why he went ahead and won the Gold Glove. So I wish him all the best. It's too bad that he had to struggle down the stretch there, but he had some good moments in a Blue Jays uniform. He was never the same player that he was in Oakland, unfortunately, but man, so exciting at third base, and I don't think I'll ever see an arm like that in a Blue Jay uniform at the hot corner. Just so exciting to watch.
Yeah, and he won the Gold Glove, and this was his final, or his presumed final season as a Blue Jay. You can see on the left, couple years, decent OPS, wasn't really phenomenal. We were all hoping he would kind of reach the peak Matt Chapman from Oakland days with 800 plus OPS with massive power. Unfortunately, he did not accomplish that. But at the very least, I was happy to see, again, we finally got a guy in our lifetime, at least, who was an elite third baseman defender. Obviously, we saw Josh Donaldson, very, very good, but Matt Chapman was on another level on that end. But, Peter, any final thoughts on this trade or the qualifying offer before I wrap up and presume some more moves to come very, very soon?
I need baseball to come back, man. I need it. I think we're 140 days away from spring training starting, so the countdown is on. The countdown is on, but hopefully the Jays make a few moves before then, and hopefully we get to bring it to you guys right away because we love breaking that news. And it's going to be an interesting offseason. It's going to be fun to watch this Blue Jay team go forward and see what they do. And who knows? Who knows what they do out there, but I think they're going to be very aggressive on the open market.
Yeah, and hopefully they are. If you want to see our video from yesterday, click on your screen now, hit the subscribe button. We'll see you tomorrow.